All right, we're getting ready to start the history of UFO photography and how to photograph and record your UFO sighting with Enzo Cyrille of Doof, Kansas. Enzo is a retired military precision with a passion for the paranormal. In addition to his investigative work, Enzo is also a well-known personality in the paranormal podcasting world. He is a frequent guest on shows like Spaced Out Radio, the Paranormal Chop Shop, Doof Doof Paranormal, What If Tomorrow on the Fringe, and the Bordertown Strange Podcast, where he shares stories, theories, and practical advice on UFO sightings and fringe topics. In 2024, he joined the Bordertown team as a resident expert in UFOs, alien encounters, military history, and astronomy. So give it up for Enzo.
Thank you very much, everyone. Hear me all right? Special thanks and shout out to our friends that watching us live on YouTube right now. Ian, keep them in line. All right. I think everyone, safe to say everyone here probably has a cell phone on them. Amazing little devices. Turns out they're not just for cat videos and selfies. You can take pictures of other things. And, one of my favorite things about being an investigator and coming to cons like this is meeting with other people, hearing their stories and the things that they may have seen. And they, of course, will go home immediately and email me their favorite pictures and videos, odd things that they've seen. And honestly, they're not very good. It's, you get these single dot in a black background, and it's kind of wobbling around and going in and out of focus. It's, I don't know what this is. I have many questions. But as it turns out, with a few tweaks to your cell phone, you can take way better pictures, especially if you have a newer phone that's been made in the last few years, with just the plain equipment that you have right in your hand. So we're going to go over that in a minute, but first I'd like to discuss some famous photos, actual photos of UFOs in the past, so you can kind of get an idea of what's possible. And even saying that, I'm going to break my own rule. And this very first thing that we see here on our screen is not an actual photograph, but this is a woodcut from Nuremberg, Germany, 1561. Now, what a woodcut is very much like what we think of today as like a rubber stamp, where they would carve a block of wood in relief to make a picture, and then use it like on a rubber stamp and stamp it onto a piece of paper, and then write whatever the story was that went along with whatever the picture is. And if it was important enough, they would actually hand paint in all the colors on there, basically hanging it up all over town in public bulletin boards and public meeting areas. It was the predecessor of the newspaper. Now, back in 1561, we see this image here, which looks very flowery and amazing, just the artistry in it. But on the morning of April 14th, 1561, right at daybreak, a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun. This is something that the entire town saw for miles around. This was, at least according to this article, an actual occurrence. And this is, if you read ancient Latin, Germanic Latin, this would be the story that would be underneath. A dreadful apparition occurred on the sun, and then this was seen in Nuremberg, in the city, before the gates and in the country, by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun two blood-red semicircular arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter, which you can see across the sun. And in the sun, above and below, and on both sides, the color was blood. There stood a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color, ferrous being the color of iron. Likewise, there stood on both sides, and as a torus about the sun, such blood red ones and other balls in large numbers. about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, also some alone. Yeah, that's not alone. Things worked better in 1561, apparently. All right. In between these globes, there were visible a few blood red crosses, which we see some of the upper left portion there. And in between these were blood red strips becoming thicker to the rear and the front, malleable like rods of reed grass, which were intermingled among them 2 larger rods, one on the right, one on the left, and within the small and big rods there were 3, also 4 and more globes. They all started to fight amongst themselves, so that the globes, which were first in the sun, flew out to the one standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun in the small and large rods flew into the sun. The sides of the globes flew back and forth among themselves and fought vehemently, with each other over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as said above, fell from the sundown upon the earth, and they were all burned. And they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke, which if you look at the lower right-hand corner, these things were fighting in the air and one crashed. See, after all this, there was something like a black spear, very long and thick, sighted. The shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed towards the west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. So basically, they described the end of the original Star Wars film happening directly over their heads in medieval Germany. But and this, of course, is it was the official record. It was the newspaper of the day. So what were these people really seeing? Now, obviously, they didn't have photography back then, but this is as close as we've got to whatever this amazing display was that happened back. Moving on, go back in history a little bit. We'll move a little forward, I should say, to basically World War II. There were many reports of what came known as foo fighters. Reports of unexplained, transparent, metallic, and shiny balls began in large numbers around June 1944, which was around the same time that the Allies invaded France, and Nazi Germany began launching B-1 rockets aimed at London, thus ushering in the area of modern-day missiles. Reports intensified by November 1944, not long after the first German B-2 ballistic rockets were fired at London and Paris. Now, pilots and crews reported that these strange things flew in formation with their aircraft, playing catch or just literally flying circles from wingtip to wingtip around some of the larger bombs, which we can sort of see in the upper right hand. You can sort of see some of these dots here and there. Older, black and white photography, but these were real photos. And after the war, and during all of this, they were thinking this must be another one of those German wonder weapons that they've all been talking about. Missiles were a new thing for warfare that the Germans invented. They thought maybe it's associated with that, which means they're a bad guy. We're going to start shooting at it. So, yeah, like the waist gunners and tail gunners on some of the larger bombers, when they'd circle around, they'd start firing rounds at it with no effect, no bouncing off, no diving out of the way, just like it wasn't there, almost like an illusion. But it was certainly there, buzzing around their plane. They could see it through it on. Now, after the war, when questioning German airmen and scientists about these things, okay, what was up with those foo fighters you were launching at us? All of the Germans in unison respond, we thought it was you guys. This is from a German aircraft that was experiencing the exact same thing. So, very, very strange, and still unexplained to this day. What were these weird orbs during World War II? And to be fair, they were also spotted in the Pacific theater. Not a lot of photographs, none that I could find of that, but they were certainly reported everywhere. Moving forward a little bit to this side of the pond, this is the famous Battle of Los Angeles photo, where we can see in here searchlights converging on an unidentified object over Los Angeles, February 25th, 1942. The bright bubble-looking things that you see around there, that's actually anti-aircraft shells exploding around it. This was not that long after the United States joined World War II, and everybody still had Pearl Harbor fresh in their mind, and they were very concerned about attacks on the West Coast. Started getting reports from various people that were out there watching the skies even at night, and this mysterious orb got spotted. They started kicking on all the spotlights, aiming it in there. They're like, "It ain't ours, shoot it down." And let's see, more than 1,400 rounds of anti-aircraft artillery were fired by a series of batteries for several hours, as military authorities believed the country was being directly attacked by a series of unidentified aircraft, cited by numerous witnesses. During the Battle of Los Angeles, 5 civilians died, 3 from car accidents because of everything exploding over their head. They just wrecked their car, and 2 from heart attacks triggered from all the chaos and stress of the night. The event involved heavy anti-aircraft fire, which damaged some buildings and vehicles, resulted entirely from American-friendly fire. So whatever this was, it didn't shoot at anything, but the response of trying to knock it down out of the air, they're exploding ordnance basically over the city, and debris is raining down all over the civilian population. See, several other individuals sustained non-fatal injuries from falling debris, including a radio announcer, a police officer, and air raid wardens who fell on sprained ankles while responding to the incident. This freaked everybody out. But by the end of the day, whatever this was, just drifted off, totally unaffected by everything that was getting thrown at it. So again, what was it? We don't really know. But they captured this amazing photo. Okay, we're going to move up to 1950. This is over Manhattan, New York City. This strange cylinder shape. The original files on this in Project Blue Book, which was one of the programs that the government used to find out what those UFOs were. Yeah, none of those were. The photographer's name was redacted from the original Blue Book paper, so it was kind of hard to track down and validate this thing. But it was normal for names and addresses and contact numbers for witnesses of these things to be redacted for public use, because you don't want to rat people out. All they saw was a weird thing in the sky. Now everybody in the country is going to call it. But they did find in an earlier program that preceded Project Blue Book, Project Grudge, they found a reference to a photographer that photographed this in 1950 above New York City, which it turns out it was by one of New York City's most prestigious photographers. His work is housed in the Library of Congress. Irving Underhill. Oh, she did it again. Sorry. But Irving Underhill is the person that actually snapped this shot and was adamant that what was in this photo was a physical object, and it wasn't there before, and it wasn't there after he took the picture. Looked up, saw it, snapped the picture, and it was gone. Now, the Air Force, doing what the Air Force does, they had other ideas. They said, oh, no, that's not some alien craft from far away. Actually, it was the photographer accidentally left the shutter open, and it's the moon tracking across his frame. There's a few problems with that idea. It's difficult to see here, but you can sort of pick out a few stars in the background. Those stars would also leave those same trails of what they say, but they're clearly standing right there. So, the Project Blue Book days were all about deny. You're never going to get a straight answer. But still, we've got this amazing photo. All right, getting into some more famous one. This is May 11th, 1950, McMinnville, Oregon. On that late afternoon, just before sunset, Evelyn Trent was at her farm near Dayton, Oregon, which is nearby to McMinnville. And she describes this thing that looked like, quote, a good-sized parachute canopy without the strings, only silver, bright, mixed with bronze, end quote. She darted inside and got her husband, Paul, and his camera. Paul took 2 black and white photos of what he called a, quote, round, shiny, wingless object, end quote, before it noiselessly zipped away into the mist. These images would go unseen until Paul finished the roll of film. So the first 2, as I understand it, it was, I think his daughter's birthday party was on the rest of the roll before he took it in and got it developed. And that's when he saw this. Long story short, the news caught wind of it. The Oregonian and the McMinnville Telephone Register ran the story that June, and it started hitting national news outlets because it's difficult to see some of these things from a distance at the big screen, but it's actually fairly detailed. And a lot of people were not convinced that this was real, but of course, military people came in and ran some tests and said, hey, there's nothing wrong with these negatives. There's nothing wrong with this camera. This does appear to be an object in the sky. Ran through the whole bout of debunkers. There were a lot. They really ran with, there's a hidden string that we are sure is there that they could see, but no one else, running from the telephone lines at the top of the thing, hanging basically a pie pan, swinging around in the wind is how they tried to describe it. But there were just as many genuine photographers and professionals who were like, I don't see what the string is saying. But by measuring the light from a nearby building, the telephone pole, all of this, they determined that this was certainly a solid object, probably in the 30-foot wide range. And I'll use this as an example for later. It's fantastic to have your pictures have something in the foreground. So you can frame your picture and you'll have an example to use to measure distances, to get some kind of reference for how big or how small this is or how far it is off the ground. Zooming in tight for that first picture, not as helpful. Oh boy, the Calvine UFO. This one goes through the ringer every few years. Somebody thinks they have it all figured out, and then they just come in and say, "Yo, it's great." But story on this one, August 4th, 1990, 2 young men were hiking near Calvine, Scotland, and as they broke out for the trail in the woods, there was a small opening with a fenced-off pasture. And above this pasture is this huge diamond-shaped craft just hanging in the air. No sound, it's not moving, completely motionless, nothing's holding it up, it's just hanging in the air. And their first reaction, of course, was, well, let's get back into the tree line before it sees us. A little bit of, that's a natural reaction, honestly. But when they dove back in there, one of them had their camera, they pulled it out, went out into the clearing a little bit to try and get some pictures of it, snapped 5 pictures, and while he was taking these pictures, down the lower right, you can sort of see that is a Harrier junk jet from the 90s that came in, which is part of the UK arsenal of aircraft, They were one of the first VTOL aircraft, vertical takeoff and landing. You remember back in the 90s, you'd see it taking off straight off the deck or something like that. But one of these cruised in, circled the still motionless craft about 4 or 5 times, and then the craft just went straight up in the air, past the fog bank and all that, in a flash. Gone. Plane kind of circled one more time, and it flew off from wherever it came from. So now these two Scotsmen have a fantastic story to tell all their pals, and they've got pictures to prove it. Went back into town, got pictures to fellow, got it back. Look at that, these are amazing. Had 8x10s, they're telling all their pals at the pub, all that stuff. Word gets out to the local newspaper. They do a full interview, and they said, "Hey, can we have some of these pictures?" Like, yeah, we have 5 copies of the original stuff. Pick whichever one you want. They had all the 5 of them at the newspaper. They picked the one they liked, which was this one. Ran a big story on it, and it exploded everywhere. The 1990s, so kind of early days for the internet, it spread everywhere to where everybody wanted answers to this. The Ministry of Defense, they're in the UK. Hey, we'll take those photos off of you if you don't mind and do a proper investigation. To the newspaper, they're like, we don't have the negatives, we just have the ones that the dudes gave us. You talk to them. Oh, well, we'll take what you have. And they go and talk to the 2 gentlemen, and of course, being respectful folks, trusting in their government. Why, sure, we'll give you our photos, all of our negatives. And they were never seen again. So our 2 hikers now have nothing to show but the articles and repeated picture over and over again. But then, mysteriously, a couple of years later, the same original reporter, just a couple of years ago, came out and made a public statement. He's like, I still have this original photograph that you gave me to run in the paper. We've been waiting for 20 years for somebody to come pick this thing up. So everybody freaked out again, and now we can digitally rescan it and see a little more detail. But it just started the whole cycle of debunking all over again. And of course, the Ministry of Defense is like, we throw all that stuff away. It was obviously, no. Once 21st century folks got a hold of it, a lot of people became better believers of it because of the detail that came out. But even more people were duped because, like anything you get on the internet, they cut out the important, just the center part and ignore all the stuff around it. That stuff that we just talked about that you have for reference, where we can see the top of the fence, the 3-tier barbed wire fence that was, on the fence before them. A little bit of trees coming in there at the top and bottom. But they started running the story with just the zoomed in part of the diamond shape and the aircraft. And I'll say this, and you won't be able to unsee it. The going theory, like foolish people on the internet, is, oh, that's not something in the sky, it's the water. You see, that's a reflection of a small land mass that's sticking out of the water, and it's just a boat floating nearby. No. But that's what, if somebody brings it up, that's what they're going to say, because that became the popular narrative. So it's kind of a mess out there, even when you take a good picture, because this one was actually about that. All right, I'd like to introduce my partner Pam, who I work with here she does a lot of work. She's been doing this a lot longer than I have. This next segment is a video that comes locally to here, and I'll just turn it over to her, and I'll just hit play, and you can talk us through what this actually is, if you don't mind.
Sure thing. Okay, so this video was actually brought to me a couple of years ago now. I believe it was in January. And it was a friend of mine. They leave for work very early in the morning. They're usually on the road by 3:30 a.m., 2:30, 3:30, somewhere in there. And he was seeing these lights in the sky on his way to work. And he didn't know what to do about that, so he finally talked to his wife, and he was like, hey, I've got something to tell you, but you're gonna think I'm crazy. And she's like, I know you're crazy, so just tell me. And he's like, I've been seeing these lights, on the way to work. And she was like, have you told Pam? And he was like, well, no, I didn't think about it. Have you recorded it? Well, no, I didn't think about that either. And she's like, okay, you're a really, really bad person to do this then. But, so she's like, go out and try to get some video of it, and we'll take it up to her. So he did that same night when he was, or morning to him, I guess. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and this was somewhere very close to the...
That red dot is me, just so you know.
He was very close to the Oklahoma line, but in Kansas still, near Coffeyville area, and he was headed east, and he would see these from his driveway. So he stopped out there, and he recorded 2 separate videos, and they brought them in to me, and they are absolutely fantastic in my opinion. And he did everything that you're supposed to do without even having to be told. He got his mailbox in the movie, and he also got a light pole in the movie. He didn't try to zoom in on them, which is a no-no, because you can't tell how big they are. You can't tell if they're moving around or whatever. You can lose a lot of that definition. But so he just focused it like what you see where Enzo has the video ready to go. Let me know when you start it, because I can't really see it from here.
Oh, it's been rolling.
Oh, has it? Oh, okay. So have you seen, as it showed the lights already?
Yeah, could everyone see some of those lights? They're a little dim. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You saw? What do you think? What do you think they are?
UFO? That's the definition of a UFO. It's an unidentified flying object. So yeah.
So yeah, that's stuff that's being seen right around here.
Mm-hmm. He's not the only one that's caught lights around here. This just happened to be the only videos that I had that we could get together for today. But yeah, they're fascinating. And he still sees these lights. They're not going away. They're still showing up. He's not the only person in the area that has recorded these. I don't know if they're the same exact lights, but they're not too far off. There's about maybe a 20-mile difference in them. It's not near an airport, so as you watch the screen, you can see the way that the lights move is not the way you would expect an airplane to move. They fade in and out, they get very bright, they fade out, and then they show up somewhere else. And it's not like they, took a deep dive or anything, it's just very interesting.
To be fair, it is a bit difficult to see. We probably should have turned the lights on for some of this.
I have a friend in MUFON in Missouri. Her name's, I lost her last name, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Yes, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. She's one of the officers in MUFON in Missouri. And we showed this to her. She was fascinated with it. She's seen a lot of this stuff too. But she said these are very similar to lights that they have been recording down on Old Route 66. What town is she near, Ken? In Arnold. So that's south of St. Louis, is that correct? So she's south of St. Louis somewhere. But they're seeing similar lights to this, and these are guys that basically do this for a living. They don't know what they are either. But she was very excited to see these. So it's exciting to know that MUFON's excited about something around here.
There you go. Interesting stuff. But,
again, he did a fantastic job. He got that light pole in there, and he got that mailbox.
For us, this is gold.
Yes.
With this, you can determine, okay, we know how tall a telephone pole is, so we can see what level it's hitting that. We'll know what angle they were looking up from, so that could help determine, like, if multiple people took pictures of these same lights from different angles, we could determine the exact altitude from the ground of this object. We could determine its speed if it's moving around, things like that. So having references in there, especially at the beginning, like obviously if it's loitering for a long time, okay, maybe you got a chance where you can zoom in a little bit. Don't go too crazy. We'll get into that in a minute. But there you go. Thank you so much, Pam, from Bordertown Paranormal. Greatly appreciate it. How about a quick hand for Pam? All right, we'll get into the meat of the different settings on your cell phone. First, I'll apologize right up front. It's impossible to give you what does your cell phone settings versus your cell phone settings, because everyone's phones are a little different. Even if you bought something brand new this year, there's about 12 different variants of that same camera, different models and different options and stuff like that. It's kind of a mess. So all of the things I'll be talking about here in the next couple of slides are the general idea of what to do. Now, all of these things are in the $1 program. If you would like a hard copy of it, that you can buy here up front. Or if you like, get yourself a just take a picture of this. You can practice your zooming skills on the screen. But starting off at the top, just the basic mode of the camera. You pull your camera out, turn it on, and the default settings will be, everything will be automatic. There should be a mode select to switch on various things, and we'll just go through each one of those as we go here. If you're using like if you have a newer phone, some of them have a dedicated night mode. If your camera has that, just use that and ignore the rest of it, because that's just as good as trying to manually program in specific settings. That'll be just fine. If you don't, you're going to have to switch to a manual or pro mode. I have a new Samsung, and they call it pro mode. So if you're a professional photographer, you can go in and tweak all these settings. Probably the next important thing is the ISO. That's basically how it refers to the camera's digital sensor and how sensitive it is to light. The lower number for taking pictures of bright things. If you're taking a picture of a snowman in a snowy field on a sunny day, you want a low ISO. If you're trying to take a picture of a little pinpoint of light at night when it's pitch black, you want a higher ISO. Good. Everybody all right? Clear that area, please. Okay, somebody doesn't like my presentation.
Still live, right? We're still live, right?
Yeah, Karen and Ian and.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
We just had apparently some water caught a section of the roof that just let loose a little big chunk of the ceiling out on some of our displays. So if you give us just a few minutes to clean it up, make sure everybody's okay, and we'll get back to this as soon as we can.
Do we need to get a hold of Jason maybe?
They moved the tables earlier right now out from the wall. I guess it was weekend. Yeah. Exactly. The rest of that section is like crazy. Yeah. Like I'm worried about moving like all the other people and stuff out that way because I'm wondering if that whole strip there.
What are the odds?
Or when help. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm nervous about the rest of the roof of the building.
What's that taking over by talking to him?
Hmm? I don't know the exact location. I know they were like southeast of just north of the.
That's Joe kind of a presentation brought the roof down.
That was interesting. Yeah, I don't know the exact location, but I know it's right in that area. Maybe it's a one.
Away from that area, just in time.
Were you over there?
I was talking to, she was at just mine.
Yes.
I'm talking to her from there. I'm sitting over here, sat here. I sat back there talking to somebody, and then I went on the corner. Oh, I need to get a book. So I talked to her, walked out, got the book, got almost to the door, and everybody's running around.
I need to get a hold of Tracy.
Yeah, all those bad things I said about Project Blue Book earlier, yeah, I didn't really get it. You did great work there. Thank you.
Enzo, are they watching us?
Might have turned it back off. You can try it. Hold it down to it.
Enzo, are they watching us?
Yeah.
They're watching us all the time. I think so.
He already has a good one, Enzo.
Do you have to call maintenance or something?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, she's going to come over and threaten me again. I think it's
Do you need to call him?
They're blueberry.
I know you heard me before. Thank you. I love blueberry. You want a blueberry?
You want a blueberry?
Sure.
The blueberries are really popular. We have apple spice ones too.
Yum. Thank you so much. Jess, did you call him yet, or do you want me to call Tracy? Okay.
I already called.
Okay,
You want?
Thank
Are we
you.
ready
You're
to shut
welcome.
it down?
Live stream's still on.
Well, turn that off. It doesn't need to be on. We lost all those raffles. How do we get people's money back to them? We don't even know who bought what.
They have the tickets. Hey! They have those tickets for the drawing. You can.
I know, but I don't know how many of them did like the 5 for 6 or, you know.
So,